Hey folks, thanks for joining me. I'm in my old space because I don't really do these intros. I just feel like I have nothing to say, but podcasts should really have an intro. I should really be setting this up. I know that, but I'm not doing that. I just like to go right into my interviews. So it's not really fair though to just go into it, as I'm starting to realize. I wish I even had a theme song. I don't even want to get into music because there's so much music rights issues that are going on. Uh, just here's the intro. It's very simple. I'll probably get maybe a little bit more sophisticated because I really enjoy doing this and I want to keep doing this. Today, my guest is Shea Boynton from the band called the Barlow, and they are based out of Denver, Colorado. And you would think, okay, yeah, this is a Southern rock band. They're a Southern rock band. You think they'd be based out of here in the Atlanta, Georgia area, but it's pretty big out there in the Denver area. They tour regionally throughout Colorado, Oklahoma, and Texas. And these guys keep pretty busy. They're pretty much a weekend band. All of them are married, and I guess they all have kids, as we were talking about in this interview. So it was just a lot of fun. And they have a great new release called New Year Old Me, and great tracks on there. Really guitar driven, uh, very energetic songs. So it's not like your typical modern day Nashville type music. So we had a great time, and just keep listening. We refer a lot to this crazy hot summer. So enjoy. To you, good morning, Colorado. So now you're on mountain time. Is it 9 a.m. there?
Yes, sir.
How's it going up there? Is you've been having a hot summer too, like all of us?
Oh yeah, it's been brutal.
Yeah, all over. You can't get away. I don't know where you go to beat this heat. It's been just absolutely brutal. Every summer here in Atlanta, it's the humidity is just insane, and it's just worse this year. So
Absolutely. The South.
yeah, I mean you're gonna expect it every year, but yeah, where you are, I mean you can get hot, but it doesn't last as long.
It's hot, but it's dry heat.
Yeah, that is a big difference. I'll tell you, I go out running in the morning and the humidity just is a killer. But if it's dry, like it was maybe about 2 months ago, it's a
Yeah,
big difference, even if it was warm.
absolutely.
Yeah, and it's a Rocky Mountain High. So you grew up in that area?
Yeah.
Very
Yep.
cool. Yeah.
Um, are we kicking off?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
um,
it's free form. This is jazz, so I like to start recording intros for this thing too, but it's like I don't know if I have much of a life to say very much before all this, so
yeah.
I should do
Yeah,
that.
no, I grew up here more or less. I'm actually originally from Maine
Oh,
and
cool.
and
Wow.
I moved out here as a kid in 91.
Hmm.
And parents split up. um Dad went back to the Northeast, my mom stayed. I kind of bounced back and forth in between here and there. I counted it up one day. I think I went to like 7 or 8 different schools, something like that. We moved a lot. And
Sometimes that's an advantage, though. Like I grew up, I just stayed in the same schools and I felt kind of sheltered, but that probably took get you to get out of your comfort zone.
yeah, yeah, I mean, you make friends quick, right?
Yeah.
And you never meet a stranger, I guess. um but yeah, I mean, I think it helped form, how I approach people, and it's very formative. But yeah, so we kind of bounced back and forth, and then through high school, um, and then after high school, I went back to Maine for a couple years, just to surf and work. My father's a carpenter, and I worked under him, just banging nails, making sawdust, framing houses, all kinds of different stuff. And eventually came back here. I got married to my high school sweetheart, and we had 2 kids. And yeah, it's good. It all is good.
That's what matters. You find peace after a lot of that upheaval, I'm sure, after so many years. So you probably just really want to stay in one place. I would imagine you just want to be grounded.
Yeah, it's weird. I feel like I've that gypsy bug bit me at some point, and I love traveling. I love touring. Um, it's bittersweet, right? I have kids. I have a wife. We all do. And so it's
Yeah.
like, the guilt cloud kind of hangs over you when you go out on the road and things like that. But no, I like it. It's all a good balance.
Yeah, that's nice. That's really nice. So growing up, how did you fall in love with music?
Music, so as far, yeah, I mean, my whole family really plays, at least on my dad's side. My brothers play. My brother, my older brother's a phenomenal bass player. Um, my brothers play, my cousins play, my dad plays, my grandfather played. My grandfather was a jazz musician. And so it's just, it's one of those things we grew up doing it. There was always guitars around the house. My dad at one point had a small, studio in his wood shop, drums and guitars and all that stuff, and you spend enough time in the woods and it's like the old saying, you hang out in a barber shop long enough, you're bound to get a haircut, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
So,
Exactly.
you're hanging out in the woods with really nothing to do with all these instruments around. It really was a way to pass the time.
That's so cool. So what kind of music were you playing and instruments that you got involved with? Did you just teach yourself, get any lessons?
I started with drums. I started with drums when I was really young. I was probably 6 or 7. And right, I mean, that's the go-to, right? It's how you get all your energy out. Um, but yeah, I started with drums and I picked up the guitar probably when I was 12 or so. And that's my first love. I love playing drums, but I think in my heart of hearts, I'm a guitar player and a songwriter. Um, but yeah, so started with drums, playing guitar, and then that's really all I play. I dabble in banjo. I don't claim to be a banjo player, but I can fake my way through it.
How different is banjo from guitar? My sister took up banjo at a young age. How different is that from versus the guitar?
I mean, tuning wise, it's not super different. There's definitely different chord structures on it. I'd say probably the most difficult part about playing banjo is your right hand, or if you're a right-handed player, is the right hand is different rolls and different picking is definitely the most difficult part. I mean, if you can make chords on a guitar, you can make chords on a banjo. It's just that fast picking, obviously depending on what you're doing. But if you're talking bluegrass, I mean that's the bread and butter of a banjo right there to me.
Yeah, I've seen those bluegrass guys. Yeah, they're just fast. It's just like,
Fast.
wow, it hurts the hands. That's gotta
Yeah.
be really tough.
Yeah.
So doing drums, I find that, it's really interesting. I watch like Don Henley. It's like I think it's amazing to just drum and sing at the same time. That's gotta be an incredible talent to pick up. I wonder how people do that.
Yeah. I mean, like, and no, it doesn't discredit Don Henley or Phil Collins or any of those guys, but I mean, you kind of take a look at a lot of what they're doing drum wise. It's very simple when they're singing, right? They're
Yeah.
not doing any Neil Peart fills or solos while they're singing. It's very very simple, which is serves the song for what they do. But yeah,
Yeah. It's a little bit more involved with what Neil Peart has done and
right.
something in John Bonham. Oh my gosh. It's
Yes,
just
the man.
incredible listening to some of these guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really neat. So do you just get back on drum every now and then? You're basically now vocal guitar with what you're doing these days.
I play more drums with my son than I do,
Yeah, in the band.
anything musically. It's cool to be able to talk drums with our drummer. When we're writing songs or we're kind of fleshing out parts. It's nice to be able to kind of talk that talk or be able to add input or approach things like that. But yeah, I spend more time playing drums with my son than anything because he's taken to the drums and so yeah, I show them rudiments and we bang around. It's cool.
Yeah, kids will do that. And it's great with music if you can pick that up very young. That comes
Yeah,
because you could learn things easier when you're younger.
absolutely. He's a sponge.
That's really cool. Yeah, speaking of Phil Collins, his son was on the last Genesis tour.
Yep,
Just wow, I saw some of that video and like, wow, did he pick it up? Phil Collins is lucky he got that protege to take the spot.
absolutely.
That's really cool. So growing up in Denver, in the Denver area, or were you somewhere else in Colorado?
Yeah, we were kind of always in the Denver area.
Yeah, there's a lot of talent up there too. So who were you listening to growing up?
I mean, early on, my dad listened to a lot of classic rock. Um, he wasn't really a country guy. So a lot of Billy Joel, Elton John, Allman Brothers, all the usual suspects, right?
Yeah. Mine
Eventually,
too.
as I got into my teenage years, I started listening to a lot of like alt country, punk rock, some metal, stuff like that. And as I got older, I started diving into some of the more classic country stuff, some of the more contemporary country stuff. And when I always feel like you need to define contemporary country. To me, contemporary country is a lot of the music that's not on the radio. Um, that's just not my thing. But Turnpike Troubadours, Randy Rogers, Jason Boland, um, you know, Flatland Cavalry, Mike and the Moon Pies, all that good stuff. Um, and then of course the classics, all the Willie Whalen, Merle, Johnny Paycheck. Um, I like all that stuff too.
Yeah, you got to seek that all out now. Like you can online, obviously through
Right.
Spotify. It's so segmented now. You do these specific searches because you're not going to get that on the terrestrial or, I mean, you got to really search for it probably on Sirius and places like that. So it's got to be really tough.
Yeah, I mean it's out there. You talk about a band like Turnpike Troubadours or Cody Jinks. They've done great things for independent artists, and I think they've kicked down a lot of doors. And recently Cody Jinks had announced that he was going to send one of his, I think it's like a 7-year-old song. It was off, many albums ago, and he's sending it to country radio just as kind of a middle finger to the industry. A good song is a good song, and it would be nice to see more of that stuff, played and exposed.
Totally, totally. So when you were growing up and everything, what was your first band? Did you start as with a band or did you go solo?
I've done some solo stuff. It was never really my scene. I like loud guitars and drums and a band and a venue and just that environment more. But yeah, I played in punk rock bands and um, other. I had another kind of country project maybe 10 years ago now. Um, so yeah, I've just always played. Like I took a few years off and it just always felt like something was missing. Like that creative outlet. I was still writing songs, but like not having that collaboration and the camaraderie, of just playing music, being in a band. So yeah, I've just always it's always been a constant in my life is just playing. I love it.
Very cool. Yeah. So you had a number of bands that led to now it's called the Barlow.
The Barlow, yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm in my mid 30s now, and some guys, exactly what they want to do in their 20s, and they go and do it. And I was just kind of always like, I don't think experimental is the right word, but I was just kind of always searching for that thing that I do that, you know, is, is my way of expression. But it's just, I think now it's kind of, you know, it's kind of cemented itself like that. This is just how I write. This is what I like to do. It's the genres that I want to play. I don't know. I feel like it's kind of all led up to this.
Yeah. Yeah, it really has. So the recording catalog with the Barlow, how long have you all been together and how did you form?
We started in 2017, and we really just started as we're all high school buddies. We've all kind of hung out in the same circles for years, and it just started as like, let's just play some music and have fun, and go play some dive bars, play some breweries. And initially we just kind of dabbled with it, we just kind of fit it in when we could. And then as things kind of progressed, we put out some records, and we just started doing it more. It was just
Yeah.
kind of a natural progression, really. It wasn't by design. um but yeah, it's good.
What venues have you played in the Denver area? You basically stayed in that area, or did you go throughout the whole state or go beyond there?
We tour kind of regionally. So, we've done Texas, New Mexico, Wyoming, Kansas, Nebraska, all the above. Um, but yeah, we've played a lot of the venues in Colorado for sure. We got to run this after this here interview. I'm hitting the road. We got shows this weekend in the mountains. Um, but yeah, that's kind of our shtick. We just kind of do weekend runs and
You all have day jobs, you all married with kids and have day
yeah,
jobs.
yeah. I mean, music's one of those things. It's nothing until it isn't, right?
Yeah.
Financially, it's just you got to feed yourself. You got to got to feed your family. So that's kind of our approach until it isn't, or maybe it won't. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it seems like you're all in this new release. Want to promote this, your new album, New Year Old Me.
Yeah.
Uh really, really nice package here. It got some really good originals here. So and I know it's really tough to try to promote the originals because people do there's so many cover bands and
Hmm.
people pay to see the covers. So do you mix in covers when you're performing live at these venues?
You got to. I mean,
Yeah.
you're playing 2, 3, 4 hour gigs sometimes, and if you just club the crowd over the head with originals for that long, it's tough. People want to hear songs they know. We've all been there.
Yeah.
So yeah, we try and mix in cover stuff that is somewhat well known, but it's stuff that we like playing that just kind of goes over well. So yeah, we try and mix it up, but we play a lot of original stuff.
Yeah. So great album here. You got
Thank
a
you.
banjo fueled song on here called All My Days. Who's
Yeah,
doing banjo on this? Talking
I
about
did the
banjo.
banjo on that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I always try and like sneak at least a song or two each album with some banjo. I just like doing it, it's a change up. So yeah, I did the banjo. A guy by the name Dan did the fiddle out of Nashville, and yeah, we always try and add those elements to the album. We don't roll around with the fiddle player. We got a pedal steel player that jumps in sometimes. But yeah, I mean, typically it's just the four of us, and I think live we probably lean into the rock and roll side, southern rock, side of things a little more than the record, but I think it's cool, we're still true to the album, but it's still different in its own way.
Yeah. And this album has a beautiful cover. Who did that? New
Guy
Year.
by the name of Stony Wayne, he's out of Denton, Texas. And yeah, we linked up on social media, and I loved his artwork. And he I don't know if he was just kind of getting started with his graphics design stuff, but um, I don't think he had done like a full album package, and he killed it. I mean, he did a great job. Like, I love the artwork.
Now, the images on this album cover, anybody who's got this New Year Old Me, it's got some interesting images on there. Did you request to have those, or you just said, here's the idea, and he just went off with that?
So, when most people think of Colorado, they think of the mountains, right? So
Yeah.
we kind of what people don't realize about Colorado is 50% of the state is mountains, maybe even less. And the rest is just eastern plains. It's just flat, dry, arid desert, right?
Hmm.
So that we kind of wanted the eastern Colorado theme to it. There's a lot of oil field activity, just agriculture. It's just kind of wide open space. I love that part of Colorado. Like, I love the mountains too, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I just think the eastern I feel like it's a place that time hasn't touched so much.
That's
And
interesting. You don't even think about Eastern Colorado and how much,
no,
yeah, it's much more flat agricultural and they're drilling for oil over there. So
yeah.
what cities are in that section of the state?
I mean, Denver technically sits in the plains, like it's not in the mountains. So, anything east of that, there's Northeast Colorado, there's Sterling's up there, Pueblo's down south. Um,
Yeah.
but as far as well-known cities, there's not much out there. So it's, when you fly into Denver, the airport's, a half hour east of the city. So it's out in the middle of a field.
Oh,
If it's a cloudy day, you can't even see the mountains. So it's like, I can't imagine how many people fly here and just think, what the hell? What, you
I've
know?
had a layover there. I I thought, oh, maybe I'm getting mixed up with Salt Lake City because I remember being in Salt Lake City and seeing a lot of mountainous area.
Absolutely.
Not so much Denver. I just had a very quick layover there once. A lot of people pass through Denver like they do here in Atlanta. So it's
Yeah. Big airport.
yeah, yeah. That's very interesting. Wow, beautiful. But yeah, I hear so much about the beauty in Colorado. I never really got to spend a whole lot of time there. So it's just it's got to be really, really amazing. I'm sure, which is probably inspired probably some of your writing. I'm sure if you have some songs that refer to the mountainous regions.
Yeah. I mean, it's in your backyard. You take it for granted, you know.
Yeah.
It's we're there all the time, either playing shows or I was up there last weekend vacationing with my family, and sometimes you do kind of have to remind yourself like it is beautiful, especially when you go other places, and it is beautiful.
Yeah, and you don't think about like, people really liking country out there, but country's loved all over this nation.
Sure.
You don't think about Colorado being that. You think, oh yeah, it's the Joe Walsh song, Rocky Mountain High. They're all into that kind of thing, but it's country's popular everywhere.
Yeah, no, I mean Colorado's got a good country scene. We played with a lot of national acts here, and they do well. The draws are always good, and we're not that far from Texas. It's 6, 7 hours away, or at least Western Texas. Um, but yeah, I mean it does well. It thrives.
Yeah, you got a little bit of a punk flavor in the title track. How did that come about and you forming the title track, which obviously is like the theme for the album?
Yeah, I mean that was just I wanted to make just kind of a quirky song. Just that whole songs just kind of you know kind of said this before, but like it's kind of aimed at the folks that never change for better or for worse.
Yeah, how true that
And
is.
like like for me,
Nobody.
it's funny, like as I get older, and I imagine you could probably relate to this, but like there's things that I liked and that I listened to when I was in my teens and my 20s that I still do, like not even just music, just stuff that I like to do. That's just like never changed. Like I just still enjoy doing it, music being one of them, but other things. um and it's but there's like I also have like some of those friendships where they haven't changed, and it's kind of for the worse. They're jaded, they're bitter. So it's just that I don't know, that song was just kind of supposed to be like just kind of quirky, like just you know if you're the things you enjoy, um just haven't changed, and you're just you, and it's just your stripes. And uh so yeah, it's a cool song.
Yeah, so when you're writing lyrics, I always ask this of a lot of artists, are the words coming first or do you have that melody in your head?
Both. I've started songs with riffs. I've started songs with choruses, with a chord pattern. um I'll take it any way it comes.
Yeah, yeah. So are you doing most of the writing and arranging, or do you have your other band members getting involved with that?
I do most of the writing. I try to bring a skeleton of a song to the guys, because I always A, I want their input, but B, I think it's important for them to have their skin in the game. So I try not to bring these finished packages. This is what it is. You know, at that point you're really a singer songwriter, right? Then they're your backing band. We're not a band anymore. So I like to bring that. Hey, I got these. I got the verses. I got the choruses. I might have a bridge, or I might have a little riff, but let's structure this thing out. What's the feel? What's the timing? All that stuff. So like everybody can kind of at least have their stake in it.
So this album, this was the genesis of this album was happening when you were on your second effort, Horseshoe Lounge, and during doing that tour. So you were basically, doing performing live, and you were also coming up with this album. So how did that come about through rehearsals?
Yeah. So Horseshoe was made, during COVID, and so the songs were kind of done, and we were still kind of picking through finishing it. We kind of took our time because there was nothing going on. and I started writing more material just cause. And so shortly after Horseshoe, we were already playing new songs because we had new material and whatever. And so kind of throughout last year, I was, introducing new material, and we got towards the end of the year and we had booked some studio time. So we typically don't rehearse. We just go play. And so we actually set up rehearsal for a few weeks just to kind of flesh songs out and determine the timings and like everything we talked about. So just leading up to studio time. And then yeah, we went in December and cut the drums, cut the bass, and I engineered the rest of the guitars and some of the vocals from my house.
That's really cool. That's really, really cool. So putting this together, did you went to a studio called Three Studios?
We did the drums and the bass at Evergroove, which is in Evergreen, Colorado. And then I cut some of the vocals over at a buddy's house just because it's easier to have somebody else run the computer and engineer while I'm just trying to perform. And then all the harmonies, electric guitars, auxiliary stuff, yada yada yada. We did all that from my house, which I like doing because there's no pressure, right?
Oh
Hey,
yeah.
let's spend an hour jacking with this guitar tone, and we didn't lose $100,
Yeah.
or let's try this, let's try that, and it's really just our time. So, um, yeah, it was cool.
Yeah. And putting it together, did you have a pretty good mixer and did you work with files? Did people have to like, exchange files and things like that to send it in and mix it all together?
Yeah, so at the end we had Evergroove mix it. I just it's not my expertise.
Right.
So yeah, we kick all the files to Brad is his name, and yeah, send him all the files. He mixes and masters it, and that was that. And we start with the publicity train, and start doing promo stuff and interviews and all that good stuff to get it out there.
Yeah. So how long has this new effort been out now?
It came out June 24th, so month and a half.
Pretty much hot off the presses. So that's
Yeah.
good. Yeah, that's
Yeah, we're
really
proud of
good.
it, man. It's a fun record to play, and I think people are listening to it, which is all you want, right? I mean, you just want people to connect with it. It's all the other stuff's cool, but like at the end of the day, it's just really, and it's always interesting to see, like, in your mind, you're always like, well, this song's probably not necessarily a hit, but this might be the favorite. And it's always weird to see like how that shakes out because it never
Yeah.
goes the way you think.
Yeah, that's what I understand from a lot of artists, though, when they're putting together any kind of a project, they don't know what's going to be the hit. That's the A&R person's responsibility. It's like you don't pick what's going to be a single and get played.
Right.
Here's the package. I'm delivering this to the record company.
I mean, we're an independent band. We are the A&R, but yeah, exactly. We're like, well, this song will probably be it's the most catchiest or the one that's gonna catch on the most. And it's never that way. It's just
Yeah.
never is.
Even if you're doing that all yourself and you're
Yeah.
not working for Sony, you're working for yourself and you're trying to do that. And it's like it's hard to really guess. I mean, you think, oh yeah, this is gonna be a real catchy hit, and it's like something else that's more of the hit.
Yeah, like I thought Josephine was gonna be the one. And All My Days has really been the one you referred to with the banjo. That's really been the one that's kind of, I'm gonna say, taken off, but it's done the best,
Yeah.
number wise.
And Josephine is real guitar fueled. That really
Mhm.
is a
Yeah.
very strong track on there. So it's like you just don't know. Very true. You have some really interesting tracks on there. Shut It Down. What is the origin behind that? I really think that's an incredibly catchy one.
Yeah, so we actually cut that one on our first record, and we've just been playing it live for so long that it
Mm.
kind of transformed, and we wanted kind of a second swing at it. So yeah, we cut it again. That was actually our drummer's brother was like, you guys should recut that song just the way you play it now. And it's more Southern rock. But I wrote that years ago, back in 18 maybe.
Yeah.
Um,
That's really interesting. And again, a lot of artists, the legacy artists do that too. I remember there's an Elton John track called Gray Seal, which ended up on Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, but he recorded that long before that. And they finally released that old version of it. But artists do that. They do. They find new life in something and maybe rearrange it. And then it becomes, something way different and way better, obviously.
Man, I think you're talking Elton John, the Live in Australia album,
Yeah.
where he went back and redid a bunch of his early tunes. That's one of my favorite Elton records. I mean, it's just amazing.
Yeah, and that's when he was having vocal issues, and then maybe a year or two or three after that, he had gotten the surgery. But that orchestra that he did, that he worked with down there, is just incredible. I love the sound of that album. Yeah,
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Candle in the Wind had been regurgitated. It's so funny because in its original form in the early 70s, it did well. And then that live version actually ran up the charts in the 80s. And then he did the Princess Diana version, which was just like, it's amazing how much life he got out of that tune.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's the gift that keeps on giving. And it's probably, a goal of every artist is to get to that level. It's just, but that's like striking gold. It's just, I
Yeah.
get so jealous of people like that who could just like keep living off their catalog and regurgitating things.
Yep.
It's really, really
He's
amazing.
he's the man. He's one of my favorites.
Yeah, I'm gonna see him, and it might be for the last time. He's coming here in September next month. So I've seen him
Yeah.
like 7 or 8 times. Yeah.
I've seen him too. I saw him with Billy Joel, the face to
It's,
face.
yeah.
Fantastic. I
Yeah.
seen him with just with a piano, no band. It was amazing. He's awesome.
Yeah, I saw him at a private show he did because he had spent time here in Atlanta. So like a private type, not charity. It was like an event where he was talking about AIDS, and saw the face-to-face show in 1994. That was their first one, and they told me people in that outfit they practiced here at the old Georgia Dome for that
Cool.
tour. Yeah, it was a lot of fun to see that.
Yeah.
Good
It's
artist.
amazing.
Good artist. So yeah, a lot of good tracks on your new release. Really, really, really enjoy it. Another one that really gets me is called Obsessions.
Hmm.
That's a really good deep cut. Was that
Yeah.
how did that come about?
That one, I think I was kind of, you know, jacking with the melody on that initially. And that one was just, a Southern rock tune, just a little bit of riffage in there. Um, but yeah, I mean, that one's just kind of, without putting anybody on Front Street, somebody that I know, just kind of always struggled with drugs, and they're actually, they're from the South, but um, and just like that whole torment of, trying to get out of that. So, but it's weird because it kind of dovetails with like, like the lyric in the chorus of obsessions are never satisfied. And it's like, I think that can kind of be, it's kind of true, among a lot of things, right? Like, playing music, for instance, it's, for me, it's kind of an obsession, like just always chasing another song, playing more shows, and but it's weird because it's never like satisfied. It's like it's just this like eternal search. It's like good guitar tone, right? It's just never ending.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like, I don't know. That's it's kind of a weird one, but yeah, it's fun to play.
Yeah, so much. Gosh, you do so well here in Georgia. If you could expand beyond Colorado, because this is all Southern rock, it's very popular still here, as much as
You
the
got
Atlanta
you got
metro.
Blackberry,
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
fantastic band.
Hope you could expand beyond that region. Definitely.
One of these days.
Yeah, yeah. It would be. We got a lot of good venues here in Atlanta. I just promote that a lot because there's just so much great talent here, and they do very, very well. But it costs money to travel, I'm sure. And
Oh man, it's brutal
um,
right now.
yeah, yeah. Just getting back. So yeah, I mean, just trying to get out of the whole COVID thing. How is that? I mean, you obviously didn't perform for a while, so that must have felt a little weird trying to get back up on the horse.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it always takes a minute. You know, you gotta stumble through a few. Um, but as far as like crowds and venues, it sometimes depends on where you're at. But I'd say overall, it's been pretty good. Texas is always good. You play Texas on a Wednesday, and it feels like a Friday. That's happened many times. Um, but as far as like Denver and surrounding states and stuff, like it's all been pretty good. Like we've people are out, people want to be out. I think seeing live music and being with other people again and seeing each other's faces and just it's been good.
Yeah, people really did this summer, really wanted to get out, and there was what they call revenge travel. They just
Yeah,
like want to, we're human. We want to get out. We want to have the reactions. So,
yeah,
boy, yeah, it's been very, very rough. I hope we never return to that in anybody's lifetime, not just ours. But
agreed. And somehow, some way, we've all been unscathed. Like playing all these bars and venues, none of us have gotten COVID.
good,
I
good.
don't know how. A couple of guys in the band have got it, but it wasn't from being on the road. But I've yet to get it, so I don't know. I don't know.
Well, if you're more likely to get it now, I would think it would be the BA5, which is a very watered down version because we're not at herd immunity,
Right.
but I think it would be like, oh yeah, I got a really, really bad flu, but really it could be the BA5. It's just it's getting watered down. Hopefully things just keep getting better and better and better and
Absolutely.
deal with this. I mean, they were beating the drum about this. It's just been awful. So, I mean, out of that did come some good music, people in their lockdown sessions, I'm sure.
Yep. Absolutely.
Totally. So for your future, what do you plan on doing? Just will this stay as just your weekend gig? Do you have dreams in 3, 4, 5 years of making this more full time?
Yeah. At some point, we'd like to make the leap. It's just timing, financials and timing.
Yeah.
So we got to. It's the music industry, man. It's all a crapshoot. It's all roulette. So just keep doing it is kind of our mentality. Like let's just keep playing. Let's keep pushing our music and let's keep having fun. And as long as it's still fun, and why stop doing it?
Yeah. So true. So where does the name the Barlow? This is the obvious question I should have asked at the top. The Barlow, where does that come from?
That comes from, so I work in the oil field, and I was living up in Northeast Colorado, a town called Fort Morgan. And I had a buddy staying with us from California. And like it's kind of a goofy story, but in California, when they describe their directions, they're like they're going to take the 10 to the 20 or whatever their highways are. Whereas here we say, I-70, I-25. Um, so I was just kind of razzling him one day. He was going to the store. I'm like, oh yeah, you gonna take the 34 over to the Barlow. There's a Barlow Road in that town. And at the time we were looking for a band name, and I was just like, it's a cool name. I mean, a lot of people think that it came from the knife. There used to be a knife. I guess they're pretty sought after knives. Um, but yeah, it's just where they're just stuck.
And where can we find you on the net? It's the barlowband.com.
Yes, sir. Barlowband.com. It's the same handle for Instagram, Facebook. We're on all the Spotify's and iMusics of the world, Pandora, all that good stuff. Um, YouTube, check out the album there. It's a Google away.
And you could buy the album on that website, thebarlowband.com. And this is really cool. You got a store, you got a merch tab on there called store. A lot of
Yep.
good stuff on there, the CD and good merch, hats, shirts.
Vinyl, hats, shirts, all that good stuff. We did CDs this time. We didn't do CDs on the last record, and a lot of people asked for them, and they've been selling. I didn't think we'd sell them. I didn't think it was a thing anymore, but people like them. They want them. So
That's good to hear. To have that physical copy is really nice, actually. I do have a lot of, these MP3 files. So afraid I'd lose all this stuff, but it's great to have that physical stuff. And yeah, how many vinyl pressings do you have of this? Vinyl's
we ran
beautiful.
we ran 100. We ran a pre-sale and we sold a bunch of them. I imagine at some point we'll have to order more, but I mean, people love vinyl. Like
Yeah.
it's like we did a run of 100 on our last album, and they were gone. Like we thought we really did it for selfish purposes. None of the projects we had ever done, we'd pressed the vinyl. So we're like, we had a little extra money. We're like, let's press a vinyl just to have it. And we thought we'd sell like 15 of those things, and they're gone.
Cool.
So
Wow.
people like them, especially at shows. People buy them and we sign them, and it's cool. Yeah, like you said, it's a package. It's tangible. It's cool.
Nice, nice. Well, get this new CD or LP and great songs on there. Mile Marker Blues, another one that really stood out for me. Great
Thank
tracks
you.
on here.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, it's been very fun speaking with you this morning and best wishes on everything.
Yeah, thanks, Bob. Thanks for having me.
Take care.
Take
Have a good
care.
one. Bye
Bye.
bye.